The bottom line is I don't believe the claim of the Air Force that all sightings can be explained. And I would point to some numbers, they're on my web, some of them are on my website, which can't be explained.
Dr. Bruce Maccabee is undoubtedly one of the most significant ufologists of our time. He has made invaluable contributions to UFO research and many of the most important UFO cases. Dr. Maccabee has been active in science research and UFO investigations for over 40 years and is one of the most interviewed researchers in the entire field.
From November of 1987 to July of 1988, there were probably well over 100 sightings with several hundred witnesses involved.
Dr. Maccabee was born May 6, 1942, and lived in Vermont until 1964, which is the same year Maccabee received a Bachelor's of Science degree in physics at Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Worcester, Massachusetts. He then moved to the Washington, D.C. area where he attended graduate school at the American University. In 1967, he earned his Master's of Science degree, and in 1970, he earned his Ph.D. in physics. After working for various companies in optics research, electronic engineering, and as a laser physics consultant, he began research activities in optics and photography. In 1972, Bruce began his career at the Naval Ordnance Laboratory, which later became known as the Naval Surface Warfare Center. There he was employed as a research physicist until 2008, when he retired. His work involved optical data processing, generation of underwater sound with lasers, various aspects of the Strategic Defense Initiative, and ballistic missile defense using high-powered lasers, defense against various types of chemical and biological attack, and development of a high-powered laser defense system for shipboard defense.
The periodicity suggests intelligence, and yet we can't find any conventional explanation. So that suggests that we have some sort of an intelligence on our hands here, and that removes it beyond the pale of science, I'm afraid.
Dr. Maccabee's passion for ufology began in the late 1960s. He has often stated that his work in ufology has been completely unrelated to his work with the Navy. But one could argue that perhaps the methods learned through his work with the Navy contributed to the way Bruce has remained grounded in his scientific approach to investigating UFO sightings and his respectful examination and consideration of any available evidence. He joined the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, or NICAP, in 1968 and was active in research and investigation for NICAP until the organization disbanded in 1980. He became a member of the Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON, in 1975 and served until 2008 as State Director for Maryland. In 1979, he was instrumental in establishing the Fund for UFO Research, where he has served as a chairman for about 13 years. He presently serves on the national board of the fund. Dr. Maccabee has done extensive historical research and was the first to obtain the UFO files of the FBI, what he calls the real X-Files. When Maccabee filed a Freedom of Information Act request in the fall of 1976, he did not expect to get anything.
6 months later, I got a phone call at work from a guy who turned out to be a very surprised FBI agent. And he said, "Gee, I didn't know we had all this stuff. There's over 1,000 pages." And he said a lot of it's duplications and so on. I'll be happy to select out the best ones and send them to you. So he sent me 400 and some pages of documentation. And over the next year or so, they released the remainder, which turned out to be 1,600 pages.
In 2000, he published a comprehensive book entitled UFO FBI Connection: The Secret History of the Government's Cover-Up. Dr. Maccabee is the author or co-author of about 36 technical articles and well over 100 UFO articles over the last 35 years, many of which have appeared in the MUFON Journal and many available at his website. His articles have also appeared in publications like the Journal of Scientific Exploration and the Journal of British Interplanetary Society. Of his numerous published UFO photo analysis, the most well-known are probably the Trent photo case from Oregon in 1950 and the 1978 New Zealand case involving multiple witnesses.
The New Zealand case is of considerable importance in the history of ufology because of the residue of information that's available afterwards. We have the film itself and the tape recordings made by Quentin Fogarty on the aircraft, and of prime importance is we have the tape recording made by the Wellington Air Traffic Control Center, and it provides a history of the sighting minute by minute.
The New Zealand case is the only one to be discussed in some extent in the referred scientific literature. It was published in 3 issues of Applied Optics. These and other cases are published on his website. While investigating the sightings in Gulf Breeze, Florida in the early 90s, Bruce was able to witness the phenomenon firsthand. In an interview with Popular Mechanics magazine, Maccabee described his own UFO sighting. Quote, "It was September 16, 1991 in Gulf Breeze, Florida. In November 1990, they started having nearly nightly reports of this red light thing in the sky that very often would burst into flashes and go out. Sometimes it went from white to red or back. Mostly it was one light. But when they started sighting rings of lights, I decided to travel to Gulf Breeze to see for myself." He also analyzed sighting reports by dozens of other witnesses and concluded that the most well-known sightings and photos, those of Mr. Ed Walters, are authentic.
George Lucas could probably do with the strange light company that he runs, but Ed Walters couldn't do with his little Polaroid.
In addition to UFO FBI Connection, published in 2000, in the year 2001 he published a novel titled Abduction in My Life. Although some of his photo analysis has been controversial, he is well liked because of his friendly personality, his respectful demeanor, and the fact that he never engages in personal attacks when presenting or speaking about his findings.
If this thing crashed, it was so hot that the pieces actually got melted. In any case, I found that interesting, and these pieces do not seem to be self-supporting. Some of them are curved, they don't flop down, they do not seem to be the thin material that we've heard about in the classic Roswell.
In 1996, he submitted an article to the MUFON Journal titled Raining on Sagan's Parade, and he explained his evolution as a scientific ufologist. He said, quote, "My conversion to belief or really acceptance of UFO reality was a result of considering and analyzing explanations for UFO sightings. I analyzed a number of the classic older sightings and explanations for them and realized that the explanations were unconvincing at best and just plain wrong at worst. It was at this time I became skeptical of the skeptics. I also discovered that some of the more vocal skeptics act as if they have a desire to disbelieve, and some go so far as to become debunkers who discount UFO sightings without so much as a sideways glance at them." On a more personal level, Dr. Maccabee enjoys playing piano, organ, and creating music. He even performed his original compositions at the 97, 99, and 2009 MUFON symposiums. Presently, he resides with his wife Jan Fenninger in Lima, Ohio. His website is www.brumac.8k.com, and his book, UFO FBI CIA Connection, will be published again by Richard Dolan's Keyhole Publishing, with revisions and a large section that describes his never-before-published direct interactions with the CIA.
This talk is based on combining the FBI files with the Air Force files and the CIA, and that's all.
Dr. Bruce Maccabee has been writing and giving lectures since 1975, and there is no doubt that his influence has had a profound effect on ufology as a whole. It is through his dedication and persistent pursuit of the truth that all of us have in some way been influenced by him. This is why Dr. Bruce Maccabee is the recipient of this year's Lifetime Achievement Award.